What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you are a New York Rangers fan, I need you to sit down, buckle up, and take a deep breath, because the last few weeks of this offseason have been absolutely insane, and we are going to break down every single piece of what just happened. The Rangers made not one, not two, but a series of major moves that have completely reshaped this roster, and it all centers around one name, Vincent Trocheck. So let's go from the very beginning, because to understand where this team is going, you have to understand exactly what they gave up, what they got back, and why this front office made the decisions they did. This is going to be a long one, so smash that like button. Let's get into it. Let's start with Trocheck himself, because for the last 6 months, the writing has been on the wall. Trocheck had been on the trade block since the start of the calendar year. That is not a rumor. That is not speculation. That is just reality. Chris Drury and the Rangers organization made a decision a long time ago that this roster needed to be younger, faster, and built differently. And as much as Trocheck was beloved in New York, and he genuinely was, the guy was a warrior, his contract, his age trajectory, and the direction of this team simply did not align anymore. Trocheck, 32, had put up 53 points, 16 goals, and 37 assists in 67 games for the Rangers last season. Those are not bad numbers at all. In fact, for a lot of teams, those numbers make you a cornerstone. But in New York, with the way Drury has been rebuilding this thing piece by piece, Trocheck represented cap space, a top 6 spot, and leverage, all three of which could be used more efficiently on younger players. Now, the trade itself. Trocheck was sent to the Utah Mammoth, and in return, the Rangers received defenseman Sean Durzi, forward prospect Cole Bedoin, and a third-round pick in the 2027 NHL draft. When that news dropped on July 1st, Canada Day, by the way, the reaction from Rangers fans was all over the place. Some people loved it, some people were confused, some people were straight up upset. And I get all of those reactions because on the surface, trading your second-line center and getting back a defenseman, a prospect, and a third-round pick sounds like a step backward. But here is why it is absolutely not, and here is why Chris Drury knew exactly what he was doing. Let's talk about Sean Durzi first, because he is the centerpiece of this return and he does not get nearly enough credit. The right-handed defenseman began his career with the Los Angeles Kings, finishing with 3 goals and 24 assists in 64 games as a rookie in 2021-22. He spent 2 seasons with Los Angeles before eventually landing with the Arizona Coyotes, who then became the Utah Mammoth. And that is where things got really interesting. In 2023-24, Durzi recorded career highs of 9 goals and 41 points, while quarterbacking the Arizona Coyotes' top power play unit. 9 goals from the blue line and 41 points total. That is genuinely elite production for a defenseman. Last season with the Mammoth, he had 27 points, 5 goals, and 22 assists, and averaged 19 minutes and 16 seconds of ice time in 60 games. Now, 60 games is the concern, and we will get to the injury question in a second, but the production is real. Durzi is expected to be New York's second pair, right-shot defenseman, and that is a massive need this team has had for years. Adam Fox does everything on the right side of the first pair, but behind him, there has been a massive void. Durzi fills that void in a big way. His contract has 2 years remaining with a $6 million average annual value. For a player with his skill set and his power play ability, that is a totally reasonable number. It gives the Rangers flexibility, it gives them a defined timeline, and it gives them a right-shot puck mover who can quarterback a second power play unit. Think about what that does for this offense. You already have Fox running the top unit. Now you put Durzi on the second unit and suddenly you have 2 dangerous options from the blue line. That changes the entire complexion of how opposing penalty kill units have to game plan against New York. The health concern is real though, and I am not going to sugarcoat it. Injuries limited the 27-year-old to 90 games during the past 2 seasons combined, and he never played more than 76 games in a single season. That is something Rangers fans need to watch very closely. If Durzi can stay healthy and play 70-plus games, he is one of the best second-pair defensemen in the entire league. If he cannot stay on the ice, this trade looks very different by March. That is just the reality of the situation. Now let's talk about Cole Bedoin, because I think this is where the trade actually gets underrated. Bedoin was the 24th overall selection by Utah in the 2024 NHL draft, He is a 20-year-old in a grown man's body at 6'2" and 211 pounds. He absolutely dominated the OHL, putting up 43 goals and 117 points in 69 combined regular season and postseason games. Those numbers are insane. That is not a prospect you are casually throwing into a trade as an afterthought. That is a legitimate top prospect. Daily Faceoff's prospect analyst described Bedoin as a physical beast with high-end hockey sense who makes up for SOSO skating by hitting everyone in sight and being difficult to play against, and predicted it will not take him long to be NHL ready. The Rangers are getting a power forward prospect who was a first-round pick just 2 years ago. That is not nothing. Okay, so that is the Trocheck trade. But the Rangers were not done. Not even close. Because on that same day, Chris Drury turned around and pulled off a second move. The Rangers acquired 30-year-old left-shot defenseman Elias Pettersson from the Vancouver Canucks for a top 10 protected first-round pick in the 2030 NHL draft. Now, 2030 is a long way away, and that top 10 protection is meaningful. If the Rangers are picking in the top 10 in 2030, that means they are struggling and they keep the pick. So the actual cost here is a future first-rounder that only matters if the Rangers are a playoff team by then. That is a very manageable price for what Pettersson brings. Pettersson has 180 points, 21 goals, and 159 assists in 604 regular season games with the Anaheim Ducks, Pittsburgh Penguins, and Vancouver Canucks, and has 4 assists in 25 playoff games. He is not a flashy player. He is not going to put up 50 points. He is more of a stay-at-home presence. Last season he had 18 points and averaged 21 minutes and 27 seconds per game. Over 21 minutes of ice time per game. That tells you everything you need to know. Coaches trust this guy in every situation. He plays against top lines, he kills penalties, he eats minutes, and he does all the dirty work that does not show up on the score sheet but absolutely shows up in the win column. And here is something that a lot of people are glossing over. Elias Pettersson previously played under Rangers head coach Mike Sullivan in Pittsburgh. Pettersson played for Sullivan in Pittsburgh before being traded to the Canucks. That relationship matters enormously. Sullivan already knows exactly what Pettersson brings, exactly how to deploy him, and exactly what system fits his game. There is no learning curve there. Pettersson walks in the door knowing exactly what his coach expects from him, and Sullivan walks into training camp knowing he can count on this guy for 21 minutes a night in the toughest situations. Pettersson signed a 6-year, $33 million contract, a $5.5 million average annual value, with 5 seasons remaining. That is a perfectly reasonable deal for a veteran shutdown defenseman. You are not overpaying him, but you are also locking him in for the long haul, which gives this defense core stability. Now, to make room for Pettersson on the cap and on the roster, the Rangers also moved Will Borgen. New York traded Borgen to the Boston Bruins for a second-round pick in the 2027 draft and a conditional third-round pick in the 2028 NHL draft. Borgen had been a useful piece for New York, a physical, defensively responsible blue liner, but he had a $4.1 million average annual value with 4 years remaining, and the Rangers simply needed that cap space to bring in Pettersson and continue building out their roster. Trading Borgen for a second-rounder is actually solid value for a player of his contract status. So let's zoom out and look at what this defense core actually looks like now. If the Rangers open the season with pairs of Gavrikov and Fox on the first pair, and Pettersson and Durzi on the second pair, it will be the most coherent defense core iced at Madison Square Garden during the entire Chris Drury era. Read that again. The most coherent defense core of the Drury era. That is a massive statement, and it makes complete sense when you look at it. You have Fox doing Fox things on the right side of the top pair. You have Gavrikov as a physical, defensive presence on his left. Then on the second pair you have Pettersson, the shutdown guy, paired with Durzi, the puck mover. That is a beautifully balanced defense structure. 2 pairs with complementary skill sets, both capable of playing meaningful minutes in every situation. And this is part of a much broader retool that Drury has been engineering. The Rangers have already traded away Artemi Panarin and added Pavel Dorofeyev, Oliver Bjorkstrand, Albert Smits, and more this offseason. This is a front office that is methodically stripping out the older,